There we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Firing Range, a podcast to talk about all things Destiny weapons, abilities, loadouts, and the sandbox at large. And good to be back. We've taken a little bit of a hiatus as we go from 2021 into 2022. Also, I think if I'm remembering correctly, I wasn't here for the last episode. So, yeah, it's been a while for me to be back here at the table. Feeling good, though. I missed you guys talking about good stuff. Merc, you are looking very manly, like you're an old lighthouse keeper, but but strong. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm getting married in like 5 weeks.
Oh, congratulations!
My fiance
good
was
you,
like,
man.
"You cannot have like the scruff for the wedding."
Why not?
So I was like,
You look dynamite, bro.
She likes like the more clean shaven look for
come
me.
on.
And the wedding is really to celebrate her, not me. So I'm growing it out as like a form of mild protest all the way up until the wedding, and then I'm gonna shave it. So
yeah. Are you gonna have a white undershirt to match the bride dress when you walk down the aisle there?
Actually, I'm just wearing a tank top, straight up, like a wife beater. Not even like one of my dress tank tops with the collar.
Sure.
It's like a normal tank top.
This man's got
Just
some dress
and a bow
tank
tie.
tops.
Yeah,
Right.
Tank top and a bow tie. Love it. Oh boy. Yeah. Freaking happy new year, everybody. So we've got a fair amount to talk about, especially because I've been MIA. But I missed the convo on the new weapon stuff for the 30th anniversary. Anything what's the were we all kind of on the same page about
They're all amazing.
Yeah, I
some
think
way.
they feel pretty good.
Well, I mean, we could hear your thoughts too, real quick, if you wanted to
Sure.
catch us up on that. What do you think of the VR?
I'd love to. Cammy, did you get a haircut? You're looking good, by the way.
I did.
All the boys are looking good. God damn it. Yeah, the BXR is fun. I think I first picked it up. I'm usually pretty critical when I pick up a new gun. Like if I go into a game of PvP and I don't automatically pop off, I'm like, this gun fucking sucks. But then you have to try and give it more time, right? Give it a little more finesse. Try to tinker with it just a wee bit more. Find the hidden flavor. So I started off not liking it. I think I was trying to lean too hard into the hip fire because I read the unique frame and I was like, oh, this baby was built for hip fire. Tried to go into it a little too hard.
Controller or M&K or both?
Both. Controller's
like 15 meters in only.
Yeah, it was like first controller, then M&K. And I think once I found a smooth, it was weird because I don't know if you guys are like this, but I have different control schemes for every FPS. So if I play Halo, I'm rocking a different loadout button wise or whatever. But when I change to that game, my brain immediately snaps to it. So if I loaded up Halo 2 right now or whatever, my brain would just auto reconfigure and I wouldn't miss a step with my inputs. But I think when I was holding the battle rifle in Destiny, I got like crosswired a little bit. Like I couldn't. Yeah, I'm glad you're nodding. Right?
It did the same exact thing for me. I was complaining about so much. I was like, dude, I keep hitting the wrong button. I was like, this never happened.
Yeah.
But I kept being like, Halo 3. And then
it
wasn't.
Because like in Halo, when you hit the ADS button, for me, you don't have to hold it down. You just tap it. And now it's ADS fully until you get shot and descoped. And then you just hit it again, right? But for Destiny, I hold down the ADS button. So the rewiring in my brain was unique and odd. And then it took me a little while, but when I finally got into the habit, I was like, oh, okay, this is good. I like this. It's feeling better now. I don't have as many kills on the gun as our good friend Konski up there. Yeah, I think he's on the road to like 50K, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
he is.
Which is like a shockingly gross number, by the way. I think last time I checked, he's at like 8K or something like that. Like he's got a long way to go.
That thing can hit some headshots, dude. It feels good.
And I do the thing that I usually do, just kind of like if I'm trying to get a specific tactic or whatever down, I'll just watch whoever I think is really good with it. Like back in the day when I wanted to get really good at Super Smash Bros. Melee with Falco, I just watch pro Falco players and I'm like, oh, that's what they do. And like you just kind of watch and then you kind of pick up a little bit here and there. So I was just watching Drew use the battle rifle and I was like, oh, nice. It's pretty smooth. I do enjoy it, but the real weapon I'm digging out of all the two weapons I'm digging out of all the 30th anniversary are the Forerunner, which goes hard, super hard, and the Ice Luna. Those are pretty tight. Although I've heard mixed, maybe not mixed, yeah, I guess maybe mixed feelings on the Ice Luna. I was actually DMing Cammy the other day, who was giving me really extensive feedback on the Luna from a pure M&K video, because I watched Astrocross's review of the weapon, which he classified as meh. He kind of went into it saying that the hand cannon, if you're a controller user, you're gonna love the hand cannon, but if you're an M&K player, it's missing something that he couldn't quite put his finger on. But I tried it on M&K, and I was like slapping people with it. Like maybe it was the roll or something. Like I couldn't figure it out. But then again, there's a lot of hard competition for hand cannons in PvP.
There's like 20. I mean,
there's a ton. Yeah, like you got Ace, which is
Hawkmoon, Thorn,
Hawkmoon,
Judgment,
Thorn,
Annual Skate,
Dire Promise, Palindrome. Like there's just a ton of competition. So I don't know. Eventually we could talk about if it fits into the top 3 or not, because I don't know if it does, but even if it doesn't, I still think it's a rock solid primary weapon for PvP. And on top of that, stupid easy to farm for, right? Like it's just the dumbest easy farm ever. Like you just pop in, you get a double weapon drop on the dungeon boss in like 2 minutes.
2 wells and a revenant.
That's all you need, baby. But yeah, just a little recap there. Were there any other weapons that you thought are shining a little brighter than you expected them to, now that you've given it time from the content drop in December to now?
I really...
What was that?
1,000 yard? Yeah, 1K is good.
Oh, you're liking the 1K?
1K is good. But what's cool about snipes, man, I've met a lot of players that don't like the 1K. Some of it has to do with the zoom. I mean, people have been using 45s and 50s, a lot of 50s, and some use the telescope, right? The occluded finality.
Yeah.
So when you start getting back down to that lower zoom, it's going to feel off because they've taken aim assist away at that point because the zoom's a little bit lower. And they just haven't been used to it. But I think it's a great snipe, dude. It's one of my favorite snipes that they've come out with in a while. I mean, of course, it's a reprised weapon, but as far as Destiny 2 goes, it's pretty good.
Yeah, we've all seen that Twitter clip.
Oh, yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
We've all seen the clip. Cammy, what about you?
I like the laser. The
retraced path.
It's good. It's good too.
It is quite fun. Any specific roles for PvP on the laser? Because
I'm gonna go for whatever the max stability and max recoil direction is to start. Then for the actual perks, I think Harmony makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Golden Tricorn sounds fun. And believe it or not, shoot to loot. That's the most important to me.
Really? For PvP?
Yep. For PvP.
Very interesting. Care to elaborate?
Yeah, there was a moment where I lasered someone down who just pulled power ammo, and then I yoinked the power on the floor, rocket somebody. Harmony goes up, and then someone else gets lasered again.
I'm so glad you mentioned Harmony, because I liked it right away with Harmony, and everybody was in my Twitch chat popping off about Golden Tricorn, because they're like, oh, the higher damage. Yeah, Merc, I'm with you, shaking the head there. Yeah, Golden Tricorn, really cool on paper, but the maybe most annoying, least kind activation criteria, you essentially have to build around Golden Tricorn for a short window of glory, which is like, hey man, if you can pull that off, good for you. I give you a thumbs up.
Show you a way.
Oh yeah,
I know you can. I know that you can show me a way.
He made a really good video
for the non-Titan players out there. Yeah, go check out Cool Guy's video. Super dope build, by the way.
Peregrine Greaves.
Dude, have you tried it yet? Dude, it's so fun, man.
I'm trying to get a pair this week from the Lake of Shadows.
I played today, and I kid you not, I probably, no joke, just today, I got griefed 30 times. People using it, dude.
Yeah. Using the Cool Guy.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
yeah, Fallout, it is so satisfying. You laser someone down, and then the green ammo pops up out of their body, and then you race to shoot it out of the air, and then just turn on another person. It feels like tool-assisted Destiny if you do it right.
That's a very Cammy. That's like back in the day, Cammy, when I would talk to people about how the go-to move was throwing the trip mine over a Titan barricade and then pew, like you're like skeet shooting it. I was like, oh, that's the Cammy. It's a little fun self-challenge for you there.
I feel like Shoot to Loot, like if Bungie was ever listening, it needs a little bit of love because it doesn't proc all the time.
Bungie has a very, I'm sure if there were like camps of people complaining about Bungie, please fix this, please fix that, like all the way at the bottom of the chart is Cammy like, fix
Fallout, this one's for you. This one's for you. So I run the laser, but I don't run it with another primary. I run it with the Forerunner. Just get a kill and Harmony up with the laser.
I love that idea.
And Shoot to Loot reloads both of them.
Freaking sick.
You guys mind if we talk about the shotguns for a second?
Oh, I don't mind at all, buddy. Take it away.
Like, because I don't know, I'm starting like all my preliminary stuff because I want to talk about them in videos. And, you know, there's really one role for both of them that really sticks out. I think Matador is a great shotgun, but I was talking with Fallout yesterday about, I'm like, dude, it's so hard to recommend the special column when Fellwinter is right there, dude.
Yeah.
It's so hard. But what Matador has, and Wastelander also has it. I think Wastelander just is, I think it's the best lightweight in the game. I do. More than the CQC-12, more than Wrist Runner, or Reese Walker, I'm sorry. For one reason, both of them have this role. A lot of people are going to gravitate to either slide or perpetual with opening shot. That's going to be a great role. But I have it on the Matador, and I've been using it. It's the Lightning McQueen roll, dude. It's the I am speed roll. It's perpetual motion killing wind. It's so much stacking on movement and just handling. Dude, it's like, it does match old school quick draw, and you have scalers on top of it. It is so fast, dude. I love that Matador. But there are often times where I'm like, dude, the Fellwinter definitely would have got that. Or this shotgun or that shotgun.
Isn't that
or this thing had opening shot. So the Wastelander,
feeling.
I'm looking for perpetual motion opening or perpetual motion killing wind, because killing wind also gives handling bonus too.
Sure.
Right. And I think that kind of can separate it from the pack. Like, I love the CQC-12. I have a Vorpal roll. I love it. Each weapon should bring something to the table.
Yeah.
But that special node with Fellwinter being there, it's so hard for Matador for me. What do you guys think?
I have a similar problem. Every time I'm trying to dabble with any shotgun outside of my main 2, which, believe it or not, even though, you know, the Fellwinter is a thing, I started using my Found Verdict, which essentially has an identical roll, or a near identical roll, surplus opening shot. There's something about it that it feels a little different. I can't quite put my finger on it. I haven't done any testing regarding the barrel length before anyone jokes about that. It does have a long one. I know that was a thing in the past. I don't know if that's still a thing that affects in-game shotgun performance the way it used to. But yeah, the problem I have is anytime I decide to mix it up and like, oh, I'll use a different shotgun, I'll experiment with something else, and then I go into PvP and then I get killed by like 20 meters out by a chaperone, and I'm like, why am I using any other shotgun? Like, why am I using any other gun? Like, the chaperone is just nasty, absolutely disgusting. That's my current problem. But yeah, sometimes I do run into that situation where you have to always go back and lean into the golden oldies, the classics, right?
Yep.
Speaking of that, I recently farmed for a Blasphemer shotgun because of the quick charge mod existing on armor, adding plus 25 handling to any shotgun. So made some oldies very viable.
Did you get a swash roll?
I did get a swash roll.
I love that.
I also got a near perfect threat detector opening shot, so I get that scalar on top of high handling, and it matters. It is really good.
Tight.
Do you do dexterity too?
I can't afford dexterity, and this is actually what I was about to say, why I brought this up. Some builds, I can't afford quick charge and dexterity in there, so things like Fellwinter's just aren't an option, and I have to go for the Prophecy Shoddy, which is good because I spent 200 hours in there, but...
is that your threat detector roll?
The threat detector arc roll, yes.
Yeah, that's a good roll.
And then if I can't afford that, I have to go the quick draw route, which means the Retold Tale, or what's the other lightweight one? Retrofuturist.
There you go.
One of those.
Is that something that you went over in your hour-long YouTube video, which, by the way, really excited about watching?
Yeah, I made an hour-long YouTube video that walks somebody through all the like crazy questions they would have for build crafting, as well as the thought process for making a min-max build, as well as some very interesting rules and armor trends that Destiny drop. Like, let's say, for example, there are certain numbers that your armor cannot exceed. How do I know this? Because I've seen thousands of drops and just paid attention. So there might be someone out there who's like, oh man, I just need 2 points of recovery here. And they keep grinding for it and they never get it because they realize that it just doesn't exist.
Yeah. If you're a New Light player or know a New Light player and they finally manage to get out of being trapped in Dares of Eternity, I would highly recommend that you point them in the direction of Cammy's build crafting video, which is over an hour long, and love the long form content. I did a little bit of that when I went away on my vacation to Alaska over the summer. I made a couple of really long videos, and people seem to really enjoy them. So I hope that the people are digging that video, Cammy. I can't wait to check it out.
It's like masterclass, but for free.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the New Light experience right now? And just
how goddamn hilarious it is. Yeah, talk away.
Besides the new players being trapped in Dares of Eternity by Xur, which is funny and also horrible. I have actual like real life experience of this happening because I managed to convince not one, not two, not three, but 4 of my friends to get into Destiny within the last like month, basically.
Wow. Okay.
Out of those 4, I let 2 of them just like hop into it blind, and both of them have now already quit. Like literally are no longer playing the game and are not interested in it because the New Light experience is so bad. Besides being trapped in Dares of Eternity, which they figured out how to quit, thankfully.
Okay, well, I'm interested in hearing more. What specific feedback did your New Light friend give you about the bad experience from DC?
There is literally no direction when you jump into the game on a new account. If you don't already have familiarity with Destiny, one of them couldn't figure out how to get to a menu.
Oh no.
Because they couldn't figure out how to navigate the director initially. One of them did not realize that enemies spawn infinitely in social spaces, and so spent over an hour and a half in the first mission killing enemies in social spaces, not knowing that they could just progress through it.
Okay.
And on top of that, the first mission, when you complete it, the exact next thing you do is basically like bounties and patrols, which is boring as shit and like not at all fun.
Yeah.
And pretty much they got to around there. And at this point in time, they felt like they'd wasted like 2 hours doing basically nothing.
Wow.
Nothing was explained to them. Both of them quit. The third one, I was like, do not do anything. I'm going to start a brand new account and I'm going to play with you and we're going to get through all this stuff. And so they have now like gotten far enough into it to where they've kept playing. But Dares of Eternity is like a kind of funny like cap. But the New Light experience is really, really bad right now. Like it's actively driving people away from the game.
Go ahead.
I mean, that whole onboarding process for the game, like, I almost wish they would literally tear it all down. The whole, was it Xiaohan begin, like just
the whole
redo that, redo it all. It's not working. And I mean, that's a lot of time that they spent and a lot of time that they're going to spend, but it's an actual critical thing that needs to happen, I think.
Wow.
There needs to be like a campaign or something that like is real onboarding, not like a slap together thing, but like is designed to bring players up to speed. And
that's very interesting. I had a dude in my Twitch chat like a couple days ago who had told me they had gotten into the game recently, and they were like, I guess I didn't think about it. Like I gave them the answer like half under the assumption that that they were knowledgeable about certain things, because they were like, what do I do? Like they'd done a certain amount, they'd gotten to a certain point. I think they had gotten through all the bare bones stuff, and it was like, well, what do I do now? And I was like, well, whatever you want to do. Like if you want to try and like look at all the end game content and then kind of like pick a lane, meaning like, does trials interest you? Like, maybe you can level up your gear, and then your end goal being get enough power level that you can enter and compete in trials, or like, what does a raid interest you? Like you can do the same, and then maybe you can pursue like an LFG type thing. But I didn't think about going so much closer to the shore or whatever, and instead being just like, do you know how to navigate the game? Do you know what Gambit is? Like I guess at this point you just kind of assume that some people know stuff, but I didn't really think about some people being so incredibly lost in the bare components of what the game is.
One of them came in from having played, Halo, Halo 3, Halo Reach, like very linear story mission that like directs you from point to point. And they're like, oh, this is by Bungie. It's probably the same thing.
Oh, God.
And literally they texted me after an hour and a half. They were like, dude, how many enemies do you have to kill in this part before you go on? And I was like, no, you literally just like run through it. Like just ignore those enemies. Just like run through it. And they were like, oh my God, I cannot believe that. I thought you had to kill all the ones. And it was like, no, they just spawned. It was like, ugh, dude, it's rough. So thankfully, the one that I handheld the entire time is now like aware enough that they can go off and do their own thing. But yeah, it's pretty scary because how many people like try it out because it's free or it's on Game Pass or whatever.
Sure.
And they try it out and they don't have someone like us or they don't know the YouTube content and they run the first mission and they get lost or they get stuck or they can't figure it out and then they just like.
Or they're in patrol for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Killing the same. Yeah.
If someone could go back in time, I want to say it was Paul Tassi, the great Paul Tassi, but I can't know for sure. If you rewind if you go all the way back to the beginning of D2 with the Red War, someone in the media complained very early on about D2 because they were at that part. Remember when you're in the tower and the tower's under attack by the Cabal and it's like, stay here and defend the area or whatever. Whoever it was, I really want to know if it was Paul or not. Like they stayed there and they were killing Cabal in that one area at the tower for like 2 hours. And they were like, when do we leave? And it was like, bro,
like
just leave whenever you want. Like
54 minutes ago.
Yeah, there's like an icon on your HUD, but I guess they kind of assumed that it was like, oh, you just see the little diamond on your HUD, i.e. go there, like go in that direction, but it's not always that clear to some people. If it's not Paul Tassi, I apologize.
But I'm just built different. Anytime in Destiny, they're like, defend this. I'm like, all right, we're looking to clip out of bounds. We are not defending this. We are going to the end of the chest.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll talk to the lovely Anno later about it because she has an artist friend who is picking up the game for the first time and going through it. So she's deliberately playing with her friend to make sure that they're getting through, that they're understanding everything. I'm actually very curious to be like, cut your friend off for like a day. Like, let's see what happens if you just let her cut her loose, let her go free. Let's find out what happens.
So Gomer.
No. Oh, do you want to comment on it from off camera?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, comparatively to other games, the Destiny UI is really hard to follow. So
Sorry.
I think we're kind of underselling it here.
I was taught. Yes, my mistake. More confusion. I was talking to Anno, and I think my mistake there. Anno, what did you say?
She said she finds it very confusing.
She finds it very confusing when she goes off on her own. So
I don't know if it's a she. I don't know their gender, so they. But
they. Okay.
Yeah, they said it's not new player friendly, which I agree with.
Not new player friendly.
I'm trying to help them. I'm like,
I don't know if you can hear this.
A new player and not a paid.
No.
What do you have access to? What do you do?
Yeah. The consensus is general confusion. They don't really know what's going on. There's not a lot of direction. Essentially, I'm getting the vibe that they would be pretty much lost without a veteran right there being like, okay, here's what this means. Here's what that means. Blah, 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 blah.
The Red War campaign served a clear purpose of it gave someone that linear path to follow. And it was like, do this, do this, do this. And then by the time you've done that, you understand the way stuff works. That's just gone now. And the Shah Han thing, I know he's supposed to be the veteran that's helping new lights, but Shah Han,
is he?
It's almost like it's fan service for someone who's already played the game and not a tutorial for a new player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool guy. What up?
I mean, so the blessing and the curse is that Destiny is a live service game. Like Red War, I mean, let's remember, okay? Say they brought that back, you go into the tower, the Cabal drop pods, there's Zavala popping his bubble, you go in the back, you get all, well, you load back into the tower and you see, grandma, and you go give her some cookies. What just happened?
What's happening
it just doesn't work. The live, live service.
They need to split off these social spaces need to be siphoned off. And I know this is more work than me just you just do this and it doesn't work that way. But they need to split off hey, have you finished the first 5-hour tutorial? No, we're gonna put you in your own special little tower that's trimmed down, doesn't have a ton of shit in it, that just has a handful of people to talk to. because that exact same thing happened. Like my buddy loaded in and it was like snowing all over the fucking place. And like he said, grandma's right there. And he's like, oh, like what's going on? I'm like, dude, I don't know. There's this fucking old lady. You give cookies to people, like literally just
don't worry about it.
Like
just go with it.
Ignore it. Yeah.
Crazy. Oh, man, that's too funny.
You know, but something like that too, it makes you go to every single character in the game to see what they're about. So I mean,
if you can figure out how to give cookies to people,
yeah,
the cookie baking
I'm telling you, man,
is crazy complex.
terrible.
Not explained.
Dude, you got to be like, all right, hit the button that brings up the director. Which one's the director? Just hit the ghost twice. Okay, now you're there. Now tab over to the quest tab, and you're gonna see an oven in the quest tab. Now open up that oven. Check the ingredients. All right, so you don't have that. So walk over to Commander. Who's Zavala? North. Like that's the process you do. I have a free-to-play account, and I went to Dares of Eternity. And the first time it loaded up, it's like all level 1s there. And I looked around. I looked at their loadouts and said, "Nah, this is taking 20 minutes." So I just reloaded and found a new party.
So this is interesting that we bring this up. I laughed earlier on Twitter in the week because I'm gonna be real with you. Like I want more people to. Of course, we all want the same thing, right? We want a better entry experience for new light players in D2. We want this to be a good, fun, open, welcome community. That being said, I laughed my ass off at the news about new players getting trapped in Dares of Eternity, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Without champion mods, like
with no champion mods, with like what is
50
happening?
light level under the recommended when they start.
Broken Travelers chosen. Yeah.
So that's funny. Like I laughed about it. I'm glad that more like Paul wrote an article about it. DMG tweeted about it. You know, Rick made a video about it.
If anybody makes fan art about it, please send it my way.
I would love if you would let us know about that.
Just like Attack on Titan type thing, giant overload enemy.
But the humor aside, like, does anyone know who brought that issue to light? Does anyone know who shone light on that issue? Because I don't think it was Bungie. I think it was
Destiny, the meme.
Destiny the meme, because
someone on Twitter loaded in, someone who has a relatively sizable following started an account and loaded in and got stuck and was like, hey,
I think you're right,
like this is happening, by the way. Like I loaded into a game with 5 other new players and like we literally couldn't beat Dares of Eternity.
And then Bungie hadn't commented on that until that kind of meme / just situation blew up, right? Because I hadn't seen them comment on it anywhere. So that right there, to me, is a problem, a large problem. God knows, I love Bungie, but they fucking like, it makes me scratch my head. Of course, no company beyond criticism. It's confusing to me that like you would think that bringing new players into your game is a very core experience. So did they not know? Did nobody test the current new light experience? Like
that shoved a lot of people away.
Huh?
I guarantee that shoved a lot of people away.
Probably, but my question
even if
is
they
like,
got out of it, dude, they didn't know how to go to orbit. It doesn't tell you how to go to orbit when you load into an encounter for the first time.
That is true.
So if you just fall into Dares of Eternity, you might legitimately not know how to exit and like escape that, even if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be very fair here. I know it's running an entire game and its community is probably a very daunting task. It's like almost impossible to get everything completely under the umbrella at all times. That being said, like I feel we need to frequently have somebody at Bungie testing the new light experience, because like we can't have that shit happen again, right? Like having people come in to like they're just walking in. Imagine just walking into a room and getting punched in the face. Like that's pretty much what the Dares new light experience.
I've never really tested how friendly, quote unquote, it is. I test how close to free to play versus pay to play it is. It's like power scaling. What does a free to play account get? What does a pay to play account get? So now if they were playing for $1 million on the line in quick play, who's winning? And I like it in the game when free to play is very close to pay to play, if not the same.
Yeah, it's I just hope that kind of a learning experience overall. Again, I laughed about it just because just the idea is silly, but like you got to make sure that if we're trying to really make sure that the community is continuing to grow and be welcoming of new players, like damn, I think we have to up the bar a little bit on the overall entry experience, which is I just hadn't thought about it in a while.
As content creators, if anybody in your chat is looking for direction after being new, I think the easiest path to send them on is do strikes, gambit, or crucible just to up your base power level, and look at what other people are using. Write down anything you see that's interesting and look up how to get that type of thing. And I think that sets them on a path.
That's a good starter little path there. Here's someone in our live Twitch chat. As a reminder, we do record these podcast episodes live on Twitch. From Scorn right now, if I'm reading that, or is it Scum? Hard to read that name with the red text. My brother hadn't played since Forsaken. He came back, made a new account, and was utterly baffled by how bad the New Light experience was, even to someone who had played the game before years ago. On a technical and lore level, he really didn't like it, saying a new player would most likely hate it. Yeah, that's not really what you want to read.
I mean, my suggestion is honestly like there needs to be forethought, because like they've vaulted stuff, and when they vaulted stuff, it took a lot away. Yeah, and you could tell that there was some forethought put into it, but
sure,
the New Light experience wasn't given a ton. And what they need to do is like the previous year's campaign probably needs to be the
onboard.
Yeah, like
Beyond Light.
So
Beyond Light.
At this point, it would be Beyond Light would be like the intro, and there needs to be like a cutscene beforehand that explains the story up to this point at a high enough level to where it's like, this is where you're coming in, right? Like the Red War happened. Here's a short summary.
That's a good idea.
Killed, here's a short summary. Yeah. So it's like a couple minute cutscene, and then it drops you into a campaign, and you play the campaign. By the time you're done with the campaign, you'll probably have figured out enough shit to like, then you can be set free a little bit. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's sure as hell better than Shah Han is like one mission.
Yeah,
that sucks. And then 3 patrols for some reason, which is like wild. That they're like, this should be the intro for new players. Like, we want to show you what Destiny's all about. Go run a patrol. Kill 20 enemies.
Run a patrol.
Pick up 8 materials.
Go bake a cookie.
And then stand and defend Ghost for 10 minutes, please.
Yeah, introduce them to the darkness of Beyond Light. Like, that would be perfect.
And it's crazy to me. And it's like, so that way, it's like you have a year to plan out the next one. Beyond Light goes away because it gets vaulted, obviously, at a certain point in time, which people will rage about. And then Witch Queen becomes the onboarding for an entire year. And you just add the Beyond Light summary to that first cutscene that you have, right?
Yeah.
And like,
I love it.
You know, that way people, it's like, oh, so this is where the story is at. This is where I'm coming in. I just got resurrected. I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing, but it's all right. I have 12 missions to play through to figure all the stuff out. And it tells me where to go every single time.
Yeah. That's
great.
Well, I like that. And I mean, they could do one of those. I don't know what is cheaper for them to create, to produce, if one of those, like, you know, cool cutscenes like the ones we got with
sketch ones with Saint
the
14
sketch ones. Yeah, those are probably, you could I'm assuming, relatively easily do one of those cool sketch animations, and they just catch everybody up, general information. Here's what's going on. They kind of just drop you right in. I like that idea.
Another thing, like
full send.
You know, I was saying earlier about, you know, the blessing and the curse of it being a live game. I mean, when things come out, man, you guys have to remember they've been working on it for, like, when Witch Queen drops.
Yeah,
they're already 2 or 3 seasons ahead of that.
Of course,
right?
Yeah,
right. So like a lot of the stuff is not. It's pretty much final, right? It's ready to go. It's ready to launch. Different teams are working on different seasons, and everybody's working together. So with something like this going way back as a live service game takes time, takes money away from all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why I think it's been so hard to get right. But with something like that, Merc, I mean, that sounds reasonable. Even tie-in cutscenes they've already had. It could be with what's going on with everything so far. Like, they can just literally cutscenes that have already been in the game, tie them together, tell the story.
I forgot. I gotta tell this story because it's fucking funny as shit. This just happened the other day. So we play through Forsaken, which is free, right?
Yeah.
So first off, I was like, okay, well, we got to play at least a couple strikes first because you'll hear Cade. So at least you'll know who Cade is. And we have to do the Risk Runner quest because that introduces you to Cade. So we do that. So at least he has an understanding of who Cade is. We play Forsaken, Cade gets killed. He has like, okay, at least some emotional attachment. Like, I've heard Cade's voice before. This explains why he's not in the tower. We kill Uldren, right? Immediately, he accidentally loads into something on the moon trying to do Shadowkeep, which is Uldren coming back with Savathun in the ice crystal, and he's like, wait, didn't we literally just kill him? And I was like, I was like, damn it. I think we loaded you into the wrong thing. I was like, hold on, what are you in? And he's like telling me about what's happening. I was like, oh shit.
Oh, crap.
I was like, well, okay. Here's the thing. So Aldrin gets resurrected and he comes back and now he's our friend and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? Just fucking quit and then forget. Like, forget that you saw
That's got to be so jarring.
Forget what you saw.
He literally goes, wait, didn't we just kill him? And it was the next thing after that. I was like,
he's cool now.
Dude. Yeah.
You should have messed with him.
He's cool now,
bro.
Oh, your game's messed up. We got to go back and kill him again.
Dude, that's so funny. My God. Man, I have to, I feel like I have a lot of homework to do. I got to try to reach out to people who are either New Light players or people who are friends with New Light players.
Let's just start a new account.
Seriously, start a new account and play.
Maybe I should.
See how bad the experience is for yourself. And honestly, like, I don't know, this is too much effort for you guys, and I'm not a video creator, but like someone who does like a walkthrough of like, this is what happens when you start a new account. Literally, like, this is how you access the director. Like, someone who does a walkthrough and just pins that shit and just everybody can direct new players to it, because not every new player has a veteran to hold their hand through.
Yeah.
And I feel like those that don't, most of them probably aren't pushing through. They're just giving up. And that sucks.
Probably. That's kind of lame. Well,
we spent a lot of time on that.
We did.
It's like the whole episode.
but
We're
good time.
about that, though.
We have a little. We have more stuff we can talk about before we.
It's better to talk about that than lobby balancing.
I mean, you can't even begin to talk about the sandbox if there's no players playing the sandbox.
We'll get True Vanguard to talk about that later. But yeah, real quick before we move on, if you're listening to our show either live or however you listen to podcasts, do me a favor, would you? Reach out to us any way you can. We'll read out our Twitter handles and whatnot, or whatever at the end of the show. If you're a New Light player, if you're friends with a New Light player, I really do want to hear from you. I want to know what your experience is like, what you're running into trouble with, and where your extreme frustrations are. Please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Moving on. Next topic of the night, which is technically topic one. Running a podcast is hard. Ability changes. So I was told that, first episode after the 30th anniversary content, a lot of the time was spent talking about the new weapons and stuff, but we really haven't had any time yet to get our hands in the dough about how the ability changes have affected the sandbox since December. So that's good. We have questions from people, which we can get into in just a minute. But before we do, does anyone have any 30,000 foot like overview? What is your general feel of the sandbox now that we have changed abilities? Some which have been tweaked a little bit, like at the core level, like Hunter, who can no longer dodge out of an Axion bolt or whatever.
And Isn't that huge?
What was that?
Isn't that a huge,
it's
small,
pretty huge,
but
actually.
Huge change?
Yeah, it's pretty huge. And then the other being, just the change to timers, because a lot of timers have changed. Supers are much less frequent now, and so on and so forth. So hit me, boys, in any order you want. What are your 30,000 foot view thoughts on the ability changes?
I'll go first.
Sure, yeah, go away.
I think that it is a better game than it was, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
I was extremely worried that they were going to nuke abilities, and a lot of these strong, because what's really running the Crucible, we everybody knows it's high stats with movement, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I was really worried, and then Kevin said in one of This Week at Bungie's, with their pillars, that build crafting is going to be able to be expressed a little bit more. And I did not believe that. I'm like, there's no way. If you're making cooldowns 2 minutes and so on, how can we do that? But they did, because they changed how they scaled tier 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They changed the cooldowns for everything. I mean, the Arc Strider has a 15-second melee, right? The top tree Arc Strider.
Yeah.
35-second melees and grenades like the Firebolt. And you thought it would kill things like Surplus, but it made it a lot better for a lot of subclasses. So there's a lot of build variety that you can do and do really, really well with. And they did take away a lot of the lethality.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the one-shot flux. The one-shot flux at tier 10 is like a minute 10.
Minute 10. It's a minute 10.
Yeah. Because like I made that entire spreadsheet, which by the way, I want to make that public soon. I'm just making it pretty. That way the community can have it and use it and refer it. But look at like the incendiary grenade can one shot if you land it right on top of them. Like just little small changes. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but it has a little bit more power. Yeah. But just flinging abilities all game isn't there. But if they are there, they're not lethal. They're just they're primers or they're tags or they're cleanups, and I like that a lot more. I do.
I do too. It was an interesting mental readjustment. I still haven't quite perfected my Warlock loadout for Trials. I mean, like I still went flawless, but it was funny just kind of being in a Trials game, and you can go through the whole game now without having one super pop, which is really, really interesting.
Need to run well, baby.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I've actually run into a couple people running well, and you know they get it fairly frequently, which is pretty hilarious. But yeah, it's just interesting to be in a game that was more dependent on gun skill and stuff like that. And yeah, there were of course a couple abilities thrown out here and there, but overall it just felt a little different. And I haven't quite mastered my new build yet, but I'm enjoying it for what it is right now.
I like it on the whole. I'm pretty salty about one change, which is going to link into what Cool Guy was talking about with his Peregrine Greaves video. I hate the shoulder charge changes because I was the guy who I was building into shoulder charge, meaning shoulder charge the lethal melee paired with exotics, right? Like I was using Severance Enclosure, I was using Insurmountable Skullfort, I was using Doomfang Pauldrons. All those things rely on getting a kill with shoulder charge. So now I can still get the functionality out of shoulder charge by using Peregrine Greaves, but I can't build into it the way I was building for those extraneous effects. And I realized when I went back and I started trying out all of my Titan builds, I realized that 3 out of my 5 Titan builds had to deal with shoulder charges of one form or another. The fourth one was Heart of Inmost Light and Fusion Grenades. Well, now Fusion Grenades can't one-shot with Heart of Inmost Light.
Titan got the worst end of everything.
Yeah,
of everything.
The translation from Hunter and Warlock, nearly 1-to-1. Titan doesn't translate.
They need to do something to Titan. They need to help Titan.
I wish the melee that they had gotten now was like, hey, we're tacking this onto Peregrine Greaves, right? If you put on Peregrine Greaves, you get like this super tracking version of the melee that's great for movement ability and stuff like that. Switching people off of Dune Marchers and shit, switching people off of Titans maybe at the high level. And instead, like now every build that I had with a Titan that isn't Lion Rampart or Rampants is just total trash. And it's completely killed my want to play. And I don't believe that I'm the only person. I know that people are like, oh, well, Titans have my movement ability at high level now. Great, like cool. But shoulder charge was one of the few things that I felt really, really set them apart. Different from Warlock and from Hunter. And now functionally, like it's a shit melee. Like it's a fine movement ability, but it's a shit melee.
Yeah.
Anytime you use it, if the person hasn't already taken damage, you're just going to get killed. And so to me, it's like I don't really like that trade-off.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we put out the tweet before going live today about does the community have any questions or topics that we want to go over, multiple comments and questions from here we go, Despicable JA, Psy 007, a lot of people talking about how they feel the Titans kind of got the shaft with the recent change. It seems to be the case.
It makes me believe that there are high hopes for Void 3.0.
That's an interesting way.
That too, but I was going to say, to be clear, I think it was the ways that people were used to playing Titan were gutted. There's still a lot of new build crafting options, but who would have saved those for the future?
I guess
we have to get them now.
Cammy, you've played a fair amount of Titan.
I've played a lot of Titan.
Yeah, how do you feel about the
shoulder
changes?
charge, like Merc said, is a movement ability. Yes, you can get one hits by speccing into a one hit build, but I really didn't have those on hand. So the way I play Titan right now, 2 competitive ways, maybe 3 competitive ways, and then I'm searching for a couple other ways, like the Peregrine video Cool Guy made. So number 1, Peacekeeper Behemoth. I think that is the way to play Peacekeepers with SMG, because the Glacier Grenade, even though it's on a long cooldown, is absolutely necessary for cutting space on a map and making every fight SMG distance. And so since Titan gets free mobility for that, since they also have a barricade to cut space, I think it's the perfect SMG class. The next one is Synthesep with Missile Titan. Synthesep is always melee lunge, and it also has that interaction with Ballistic Slam where you can fish for the surrounded buff and then one bang them with the Ballistic Slam. As well as Inertia Override powers up things like Dead Man's Tail to 2-tap. And the final one is just going full in on the hip fire with BXR, Dead Man, Last Word, and that is Lion Rampant. If just like Merc said with the higher level players using shoulder charge as movement, Lion Rampants go a long way for a good player. Mostly abusing like map areas where someone thinks, oh, there's no way that he's floating outside for a whole 20 seconds. I really can't use my super run, just him.
Good call.
And that's the 3 I run. So Lion Rampant, Peacekeepers, Syntheseps.
I too, when I play Titan, usually do run Peacekeepers to continue my ongoing love affair with the Shira's Wrath. It's just like, it feels like a really smooth combo. I really do enjoy that.
I don't agree with its super placements either.
What do you mean? Oh, how the where the timers fall.
Yeah, in trials, it's not really adding up.
So, I think that they did it on roaming lethality. They had to have. I mean, because the golden gun's a little bit quicker, but the golden gun doesn't have any DR. Right. But your Shade Binders and your Fists of Havocs, all of those, maybe, I don't know. It's tough because I can't really say Shade Binder could be a 5, but Fist of Havoc could be a 4. You know, like it just feels like Titan, literally all of them except for Missile. Missile's in a good spot. I like it at tier 3, right in the middle. It's enough to still have it and shut down a well, right? Because well's going to be up first if the well's on the board.
Yeah.
But all of them are like the longest. I don't think there's any tier 4 Titan supers. Or sorry. Yeah, it'd be tier 4 because they did it the opposite, right? Tier 5 is fast. I'd have to bring out my spreadsheet, but I think some of those could be switched around.
I think they could switch kind of like they did with the Firebolt and the Flux. Flux became slower, but extremely more lethal. Firebolt became faster, but a lot less lethal. I think a second pass through a lot of Titan supers and changing their lethality and uptime might be the play.
We had a question from someone on Twitter at SaladmanSaladin. Does Bungie need to look at the tier 1 super regen category right now? Tier 1 classes seem completely useless at the moment in PvP. They destroyed my boy, the Shadebinder. I mean, I guess they wouldn't. The supers might seem close to useless depending on what you're playing. If you're playing a tier 1 super class in something like Trials,
right there in the Discord.
I can't see it. I have the thing.
Oh yeah,
full
the cooldown chart.
Oh, the cooldown chart.
Here's what tier 1 is. Tier 1
Burning
is
Maul is at 3. Okay, yeah, just go ahead.
3. Yeah, I was just going to say
Glacier Quake, Spectral Blades, and Shadebinder, just so we know.
Or what did we read? Tier 1?
Tier 1, yeah.
Read it again.
Fist of Havoc, Hammer of Soul, Glacier Quake, Spectral Blades, Shadebinder.
Got it. Yeah. If you're playing a game type that can potentially go very quickly, like Trials, yeah, you're not gonna hardly see your super at all unless you're really maybe slaying out and the round is going really long and maybe you have a weapon with the perk Thresh on it or something like that. But what do we think? Because I know we've all talked about how we want the game to be more weapon focused, etc. But do we think we need a little maybe fine tuning, maybe not to bring them back where they were, but are there any supers in tier 1 that are making you scratch your head right now? Or do you think it's just maybe a tad too long in general? Or is there enough in the kit?
Okay, so
if we think of every class in the tier 1 super timer right now, is there enough in their kit to justify using that class to be like, oh, well, the super, I'm probably not going to get it in a game of Trials unless under the really correct circumstances. But I'm still down with all the other stuff in that class's kit to justify bringing that class into the fight.
Some of them no.
Some of them no. Like which ones? Because for me, like if you're
top tree,
like Shadebinder,
that's good.
That's good because you get if you're accurate and then you do the crouch, you get the true sight through the wall. I think that kit would be potentially justified. But what class's kit wouldn't make up for the bad super timer?
Top Striker because they nerfed Helm. of Endless Light, right? That was like one of the main ways to run Top Tree Striker. You can still make other things work, but they took away that. They took away the what were you saying earlier, Merc, about shoulder charges? I mean, essentially you have to run the Greaves, right? There's Severance Enclosure, which doesn't work. I mean, a lot of things are taken away. Dunes, you should be running Bottom Tree, right? But with Bottom Tree, you still have Frontal Assault. The kit's okay. It just takes a long time. But the issue I'm seeing now is like when they made this, they wanted to get away from super o'clock, right?
Right.
But what's happening, a lot of people aren't letting go of those trees because a lot of them are still good, right? Shanebiter's still really good.
Top Tree Dawn, I'm still on Top Tree Dawn.
Yeah, Top Tree Dawn's still really good. So instead of it happening 4 minutes in the game, like it is just one after the other 7 minutes in the game. So like I've had so many games swing because that's when the Shadebinders come out, the Spectra Blades, because they're getting their essential one super per match, and it's 130 to 135. And like they just super clock it out. So I don't know, it's playing kind of weird. That's the only way I can describe that.
I just can't look at this strictly trials and strictly 6v6. Both game modes exist, and I find value differently for these tier 1 supers. Like for example, in 6v6, if I had to play 6 Fist of Havocs back to back to back, that would be very annoying, even still in tier 1 at that low cooldown.
Yeah.
But then again, in trials, I might not see it ever come up.
Yeah, my issue that these changes are almost like the worst of both worlds, in my opinion. You know, I've long been like, I can constantly bitch about ramming supers and how overpowered I think they are for the most part. How I think it's one of the worst things in the sandbox. Well, now all they did was just lengthen the cooldowns. People are still, like he said, it's just super clock just happens later. So what's now happening is that you don't get them at all in trials. So people who actually enjoy the super aren't really getting to play with the super that much. And then when they pop, they're still annoying as shit. Right. So it's like, okay, well, like, I'm glad that I don't see a Fist of Havoc 3 times a game. Like, to me, that's an improvement. I appreciate that. I don't use Fist of Havoc. I'm happy to not see it as much. For the person who's playing Fist of Havoc, who isn't good, who isn't dealing a lot of damage, they're getting 1 in a match of control, right? And then when they do get that, I'm still annoyed by the fact that Fist of Havoc lasts for 35 seconds. And, like, you can basically spam the shit out of it the entire duration. Like, I was thinking a lot about this, and I was like, what is it that annoys me about these roaming supers? It's that they're so damn spammable. You can spam every one of these roaming supers. You can spam Dawnblade. You can spam Fist of Havoc. You can spam Spectra Blades. You can spam Arc Strider. Like, spam, dude. And that's what frustrates me about it. I would much rather they become less spammable. Like, you have 5 swords to throw. Don't spam your swords. Take your shot, take your aim, throw your 5 swords, be done. And see 3 of them a game, then I would see one of them a game that can throw 15 fucking swords and just fling them all across the map, right? So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I'm happy that I'm seeing less supers, but I don't think that this is the end all to beat all position for any of this stuff to be.
Interesting.
I think Spectral Blade shows a real good difference between trials and 6s. In 6s, I can run a lobby with just the neutral kit of Spectral Blades.
Yeah, for sure.
In trials, it rarely comes up, and I'm much better off going Tether.
You're that, and we're all seeing a lot of Thunder Crash and a lot of Arc Staff, because both of those supers, they increased Arc Staff. Arc Staff lasts longer, and then you have something like Raiju, right? And then you have Whirlwind Guard. It's a good super. Then Thunder Crash is well, aside from Blade Barrage, but I mean, Blade Barrage can be a little finicky, but that and tied with Nova Bomb, like, those are just instant shutdown. So later they did say, I believe, that Bubble is going to become a tier 5. And you know, I think that's kind of smart. They essentially made support classes the fastest super. Well of Radiance, the Bubble.
Yep.
That can feed orbs, and that can just kind of get things going. I think that's cool. But the Thunder Crash, anything that happens above there can take out. Even the Arc Staff, right? So you're seeing a lot of those, because whereas before some of those players might play the bottom tree Fist of Havoc, might play other things, but since that's super, I mean, it's a big difference once you start getting. It's like 2-3 minutes faster. I'm gonna have to look at the end of the super timer here, right?
Remember that bottom tree Gunslinger also has the perks that speed up the super anyway, so it's like a pseudo tier 3.
Perfect, right?
And also, you don't have to tier 10 on any of these. Like, I think the sweet spot's 6 or 7, right? If you wanted to go high. Like, I'm running well right now with 4, and I'm getting to a game.
Yeah,
so, it's an interesting dynamic that they introduced.
It is, and I just am thinking about how many missile titans I saw when I played Trials this past week, and they all came out of the goddamn woodwork because it's one of those supers that now that they can get it on the field quicker than the other supers that they could get before. They want that because I mean we know how strong supers can be in Trials, right? Like if you're teetering on the fence, you all of a sudden you get that huge momentum swing because you can get essentially, if you play it right, a free round win. And on top of that, you're making orbs for your team. Even if you don't completely wipe the other team with a roaming super, you've got powerful friends, radiant light, high energy fire. And now everybody's got extra damage output. You can lock it up. You make orbs. People are closer. So yeah, I ran into a bunch of missile titans and they got it on the field pretty damn quick. And all you really need is just one pick. And then you just play it right? If you try to bait them into the revive or whatever, people are clumping too much, bam, you're just sailing round over. So it is an interesting dynamic to add to the game.
The Axion Voidwalker is also a big play right now too.
I'm gonna have you keep talking about that, but it's perfect segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is with all the changes going on in the ability sandbox, what classes have walked away with the biggest upswing? Like, what are the strongest builds you think now, or the strongest options on the table after the ability changes?
I think
Strider comparatively, I feel like had a huge buff by proxy because of the fast charge time on its super and everything like that. And because hunters didn't really get hit so hard.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. Cool guy. I just tried out Top Tree Voidwalker the other day because a bunch of people were telling me about Top Tree Voidwalker now being like baller.
All of them are good. Devour Tree's like better than ever too. Like I said, a lot of these I except for Sentinel, man. Like that's why I have hope for Void 3.0 for Sentinel. But dude, all the cooldowns for the Voidwalker are fairly universal. I was looking at it. I think like all of its grenades are the same. Yeah. Entropic Pull, Atomic Breach, and Devour. Well, Devour's got a fast cooldown, but everything's fairly universal. All their grenades, 35 or 40 seconds at tier 10, right? So all of them are super fast. All of them are super lethal. The hunters in any class that was evading them earlier can't. Then you have things like the helmet to get void kills. What is it? Verity's Brow. Big damage with it, man. It's been a fun sub. It got a little glow up with everything going on. I think Bottom Tree Gunslinger, a lot of players are just defaulting to. It's always been good because the gunplay. But things like Silence and Squall, I think, are still being played. I think Stasis is always going to be played because of what it can do. But I agree with Merc. It's Arc Staff, it's Thunder Crash, and it's the Voidwalker. A little bit of Blade Barrage. If you can just open up your mind on what you can do with that class, it's great. But I can see from the surface why you wouldn't want to play it.
Cammy, are you in agreement? Is there any other class that you feel is walking away as a winner right now?
I am in agreement there. There's pretty much everything I would take into Wormhaven Trials.
And the support is incredible right now.
For which? Sixes or threes?
Both.
Interesting.
Super good. Anything that can eat grenades right now, with the exception of Shadebinder, because they got their like locked cooldown on their grenade eating. But
yeah,
any of the light subclasses that can eat their grenades right now, like, because if you weren't really using your grenade that much anyways, you just pick the one with the fastest cooldown and then like spec into it. And you can constantly, I mean, my whole Lumina La Monarch build like got hit a little bit, but we can still run it super effectively in threes and in sixes. So
for the heal, for the well play, is it still Starfire with the double nade heal, or is it a different path now?
That one is still good. I think Boots of the Assembler Lumina is the way to go.
Classic.
Boots, dude. Even though they nerfed it, I'm running. I wish I could tell you. I am running. I think I'm running 100 recovery, and my grenade and my melee for well, I think are both at 6, which they're not high, and both of them can get fast. Right, the Firebolt can get 20 whatever seconds, and so can the melee get like 35. But Benevolent Dawn, even though they nerfed it, is still so good. I'm using double outreach, so when I pop my well, I get a little of my melee back. But as soon as someone walks in that well, or I throw a healing grenade, I have it back. It's like the cooldown chaining is really good on well right now. And if you're to really spec into it, 9 and 10 discipline or strength, it's going to be even better. You're always first super. I have so many clips already. I'll pop it on a zone, and like everybody's just like cockroaches when the lights go on. They just stop. They just run away because like they can't do anything about it, except for the Lorenz guys always take me out. But first super on the board, your team always wants to come to it because they want orbs. It's not one of those things like I don't know if you earlier when you heard a well, you're like, oh, maybe that guy's fighting off a little choke point. But now it's like everybody comes because they know that they're getting essentially free orbs from it for their build. So it's a very important class right now. It's under the radar.
See, I think it's the best true support class that Destiny offers. Like my buddy who runs the support for the Le Monarch build, like he legitimately will get 0 kills in a game of Iron Banner. And I wish that the Lumina assist like counted as assist for him, because I'll get 45, nearly 50 defeats in a game, making up for him literally getting 0, and he's assisted me on almost every single one with that Lumina thing. I mean, he runs 100 recovery, 100 discipline. Like, if he pops a rift and you stand in it, it charges up the Lumina really fast, and then we're mobile and we're moving. And I mean, I have an overshield and a 20% damage buff on the Monarch one-shots. Like, it's real support. It's support that's not able to be played any I don't think any other subclass can play support like that, where they can literally play the healer, they can literally play the buffer. Like, they don't ever have to engage an enemy if they don't want to, as long as they follow the person who is their DPS, for example. Like, I mean, Ward of Dawn kind of maybe ish. Sunspot Titans a little bit, but that's more like they have to get a kill to trigger that.
It would be a Precious Scars top Titan or no backup plan.
What is the name of that fish that like swims underneath the mouth of the shark? Like, you see a shark swimming around in the ocean and there's like 3 or 4 like posse fish that like swim directly under the chin of the great white.
They clean its teeth.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Is that dude following Merc around the map with his like?
Well, and that Lumina is still a 2-head 1 body if he's popping you with
Shark
Remora
Merc
is what it's called. It's called a Remora.
A Remora, yeah,
Right.
Dude. That's literally the new name for that is the Remora build, going around to feed great white shark tank top Merc with the Monarch. Just one
He's gotten to the point where he's good enough at it that we can run as a 3-man and Iron Banner, and he can buff me and someone else. Like, pick 2 people and buff both of us, and neither one of us will ever drop the buff because he's like fast enough at it.
The Remora build.
Like, yeah, he's not super great at PvP, and like admittedly he'll say that like he doesn't enjoy PvP. Yeah. He's a PvE Sherpa, he loves that stuff. He's like, this is the first time I feel like I'm actually able to contribute when we play trials. Like, I'm not getting carried, I'm contributing to us winning. Now I end up having to basically 1v3 the other team, because if we're playing just the 2 of us and we have a blueberry, like God knows what the blueberry is going to do. You do any number of things, but
if he's smart, he'd be with that noble round.
Yeah,
God knows
Warlock.
Blueberry could do.
Yeah, but basically, it's the blueberry dies, he stays alive behind me, and I have to like 1v3 the other team, and it's effective if we don't run into a stack that realizes what I'm doing and switches to Worm Husk or a Sniper or a Sightins or any of the other number of things that people pretend like don't counter the Monarch, but they do. They just refuse to change their playstyle. So.
Yeah.
Any problem in the Crucible is shut down by the Sight Titan, and I stand firm on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Yeah, I'm trying to get a better pair of those in the lake this week.
But the Remora, though, that's like you learn something new every day. That's the goal. What those are called.
So we did get through, even though we didn't officially get to the question portion. Like, a lot of the questions we covered those topics, which were ranged about the sandbox, especially super timers and titans. There's one more question we could handle, which I think that cool guy thought was a good question from AM Bear Dad. It's either Bear Dead or Beard. Bear Dad or Bearded. I don't know. It's hard to read Twitch and Twitter names that are mashed together into one large word. What weapons, if any, do you feel need adjusted in the current sandbox? Are there any weapons that you feel are too hot at the moment?
Chaperone.
Somehow I knew that would be your answer. And I agree, actually. And I'm a Chaperone user. I agree.
I don't think that it's just Chaperone. I think it's slugs.
I think it's just special weapons. Do we want to take it that far?
It might be. You're right. The more I think, because I'm thinking about my opening shot, like, or something like a heritage. I mean, those are fine. Sojourner's Tale, those are fine. Chaperone's just outlier.
I don't think that it's other slug shotguns. I feel like when I put on other
Yeah, I had to
slug
walk through
shotguns,
that.
I have to work for the headshot. And when I put on the chaperone, it's more like,
Free.
really? That was a headshot? I just don't understand how it happens. And yeah, I use the chaperone because it's really stupid good. My official, like, you know, when you get to that point in the game where like you turn into Goku and you take off the weighted training clothing to get real, you know what I mean? Like for me in PvP, it's when you're like, okay, all right. So I change my current loadout and I just put on Palindrome Chaperone, which is kind of like what I've called the no fun loadout. Because it's so destructive together because the Chaperone is godly. And it's like, yeah, what can I pair with it? Oh, maybe one of the best hand cannons ever. And then, I mean, that together. I've heard a lot of people complain on Twitter about Le Monarch. I saw Merc.
How dare they?
I saw Merc in a very interesting conversation about how someone recommended. I thought you were going to explode. That they were like, the Monarch needs to be special ammo, and anyone who disagrees is crazy.
It was Benji. Benji, I hope you're listening.
It was Benji.
Son of a bitch. No,
Still
dude,
Benji.
So we have to stop and think. Like when we make suggestions for modifications in Sandbox, like please stop and think for more than 30 seconds about like what the knock-on effects of what you suggest are.
Yes.
Because you saying I want a primary weapon to be a special ammo weapon basically means, and this is what I said on Twitter, it means I never want to see it in trials, and I don't actually care how much it messes it up for the rest of the game, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to wreck it for the rest of the game, right? Like, do not make those suggestions lightly, because that will trash people's guns if you swap primary to special. You will see as much Le Monarch as you see Ariana's Vow, right? Which is almost none outside of very niche like Grandmaster Nightfall things where it has anti-bear.
Yeah.
Which Le Monarch doesn't have one of those, by the way. So that would really suck.
I will admit, on a personal level, I usually like to ask people on Twitch, when you get killed by a weapon in PvP, what weapon angers you the most? And for me, it's the Monarch. Now,
do you hate
you looked up when
I
said that
because of bow swapping, right? Because of hand cannon blinting?
Well, no, it's just I don't know why. It's just when you get hit with the Monarch, I have to take shelter for like 10 seconds because it delays your health regen, which is again the point of the gun. I'm not saying that
the catalyst needs to suppress you. That's what you're telling me.
Suppression. My God, how much power can we give? But I don't know. I talk to a lot of people who range from bows are fine to bows are effing up the game.
Bows are fine. Le Monarch is the only bow that is even anywhere close to competitive on any level across.
I would disagree. I would say that as part of two hounds of a whole, like a black and white cookie, the bow hand cannon swap combo is really strong.
Like nobody uses that. Like nobody. What is Wolf Tone the only other bow in the top 100? It's probably down at like 80 realistically. Like
I've seen it. It's just funny. I've seen more people. I play with the very fun Time. Both Cammy and Cool Guy are familiar with our good buddy Time, who exclusively does bow hand cannon. And I'm sure if we looked at the Bungie numbers, the usage would be near minimal. Let's
nerf hand cannons then, right? Bows are only a problem with hand cannon blinting, so fucking crush hand cannon handling, right? Like this is what I'm saying. Like bows suck in 98 out of 100 builds. Bows are like kind of shit in PvP. The only build that they are problematic with is hand cannon blinting, really, right? So why the fuck are we gonna tank bow effectiveness, which is already shit, across the board, because they're only a problem with paired with hand cannons? I don't even give a shit if like there's a special debuff on that if you pair a bow with a hand cannon, you get negative 100 handling. Like I don't even give a fuck if that's what you do, but like don't wreck bows
100 handling
because a very teeny tiny subsection of the population is blinting with them, which by the way is not super easy to do. Like it's just not. No matter, good players are almost unbeatable when they do it, but you can't just hand little Johnny Two Sticks a fucking bow and be like, all right, buddy, go out and blint some people, right? Like it doesn't work that way.
You're correct about that, but this is an interesting question of even if the overall usage numbers on a particular strategy are low, is that enough to justify, okay, don't touch it? Because what happens when you take, even if it's a very low usage rate, and you put it in the hands of people who are insanely going deep on that strategy, like not the Johnny Two Sticks, like the
Linear fusions are a great example.
Dude, we're way past that point in Destiny, man. If this were a competitive game, sure, dude. But like, this has never been a game that's balanced around the top percentage. And like, there's a reason that Destiny sucks to play competitively, and it's because it's filled with cheese ass builds. And at the highest level, like people they navigate to that stuff that's really annoying to play against, and they abuse it because that's what Destiny is and will always be. Like, there was a time years and years ago where I was like, dude, they need to balance for the top end, because then everything else filters down, right?
Yeah.
It's been 7 years, man. That's never happened. It's never going to happen. The percentage of people who play at that super high level is really small. Most players have left to go to like actual competitive games. And now at this point, like what you're ended up doing is you're like, we're going to balance for Trials Game 7 and 5,500 comp. Well, 16 people play that shit, right? And then you've got 600,000 people playing Iron Banner to get their experience fucked up, because some super salty anime profile picture on Twitter is like bitching about they got killed by Le Monarch, right? Like, it's that type of shit. This gets me so heated, and it's so frustrating because like anything, you don't have people complaining about Chaperone and Eyes, Luna and Palindrome, right? Despite the fact that makes up an insane percentage of usage.
Yes.
And it's cheesy as shit and annoying. But like, people don't complain about that because they're cool with hand cannons and shotguns, because that's the way it's always been. But you let 1% of the population start using a bow that's the only competitive bow in history, and the whole fucking world burns down about it. Like, dude, I get so heated about this because now, like, it happened with Bastion, it happened with Dead Man's Tale before it was good on controller, like it's happening with Le Monarch now. Every single freaking thing that I use that kills shotgun hand cannon eventually gets nerfed, because shotgun hand cannon people cry constantly if they have to change anything from their pristine build that they have. Oh God, I have to take off Stompies and put on Wormhusk? Unacceptable. I won't do it, right? Like, you mean I can't play Hunter? I've got to swap to a Healing Rift Warlock? Never. Not going to happen. Like, it's crazy to me, man. It blows my mind.
So
I'm
you know
so
that Fighting Lion reload?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
You need to give that to the Monarch. That's all I heard. I was kidding.
Fuck it, dude. Just let it one shot normally. Just like,
dude, I am so sad that we didn't open the show with that topic of discussion.
So
there we could have gotten so much more mileage out of it.
These aren't all on my list, but there are 3 weapons that when in range, I have doubt. Like, I am going down. Those 3 weapons within range is the Forerunner. When I see that thing and like I have like, I don't know, a pulse, I'm done. There's no way I'm winning.
Sure.
2, Lawrence Driver. Same thing. Mid range, and I see him. I see the little light.
Charging up. Yeah.
It's over.
You're done.
Third is the Zur ingredient. That thing is the most consistent thing in the entire game.
That is number 1. We got a question about that from somebody on Twitter. They said, oh gosh, where is it? From Dylan Wilkes. Question for tonight: do you think that Zur's main ingredient God roll is too good?
It should be an exotic.
Hurting the game. What'd you say?
It should be an exotic, dude. They took those perks away for that reason.
It's the only time I'll ever say that I think a fusion rifle needs. But main ingredient definitely does.
And what's worse is that it's a weapon that is not easily obtainable. You have to get it. I think you have to get it through Zur, right? I don't think you can get it through the gunsmith anymore.
You can get main ingredients from other places, because I got one to drop on my new.
Oh, can you?
But yeah, where
did you get it?
It's almost impossible.
Dares of Eternity, of course.
Yeah, it was Dares of Eternity. It's almost impossible.
What are the odds of getting that roll? Like, imagine. Can you imagine the one guy? Because I know he's out there. He's probably listening. He's like, "That's fucking me." Like, he had some kind of engagement to go to. Like, he was out of town that weekend, the weekend that Zur sold that main ingredient, and he comes back, and now he can't get it ever again, and it's just destroying. Like, you know.
By the way, that Timeline's Vertex. You guys remember that one? Future War Cult?
The one before the main ingredient. That was better than the main ingredient, in my opinion.
Dude, that does drop in the game right now. It drops.
Is that the colorful one?
Yeah. It has firmly planted on it still.
Yeah.
And it has the big rifle scope. That drops. You can get it from the Zur treasure things. Like, right next to it, there's the keys, and then there's like the crazy box that could have an exotic or keys. It comes from there. I got a double drop once. I kept it. It was firmly planted disruption break.
That box can have anything. It could even have a boat. Could
even be a boat. But the 3 things that are hot that I would change is the Chaperone range. You're right. I mean, once we talk through it, it's not all slugs. It's the 14 meter Chaperone. Chaperone. It would be after that. It would be Linear fusion body damage. Linear fusion body damage needs to match that of a high impact sniper, or about the same. Because like even your Reed's Regret, your power level linear fusions that's their body damage, but we're putting that in the heavy into a special. And of course, with Charged with Light and buffs, it's 199. That's a little too much for their zoom level and how much aim assist they have. And the third would I think is that main ingredient. And I know everybody that's using it, I love it too. It's a very strong weapon. It's a very consistent. Dude, I don't think I've ever been jump shot by a fusion more than that main ingredient. It's because of the perks that it has. Yep. Like people are straight up like Kobe backpedaling and just 15 meters away just acing me, dude.
Yep.
I had a
very
wonderful experience today where I played a 4-man of Flawlesses in Control, and all 4 of them were using main ingredient. They combined got, I want to say, like 57 main ingredient kills in the game and like 11 primary weapon kills over the whole game. Like all 4 of them combined. It's
pretty
I
savage.
really think it's tap the trigger. I think if you just like tap the trigger off of it, it'll still be like probably one of the best fusion rifles, but tap the trigger is what's giving it that extra like. And there's a reason, like Cool Guy said, that perk was removed from fusion pools. Like, it's too strong. Unless you want to nerf the perk for everything, like it doesn't need to be on fusion rifles.
That and the combination of like under pressure, which is another, like if I had to make like a Mount Rushmore of like fusion rifle god tier perks, they'd both bonus, be up there.
Yeah, it has it's a perfect PvE roll. Like you could not really get a better roll than that, and we're seeing what happens. Like there's, for the one guy who had it before, like you said, the one guy who had it that was randomly roll, he was really enjoying his like Kingpin, fusion rifle.
The guy that Cammy and I ran into on Stadia like 3 times.
Yep.
The guy with that king roll. We were like, that son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah, man. But those are my 3.
Okay, I got some picks.
Hit
so
me.
Obviously Chaperone Duality.
Okay.
Those ones are big. I think DMT is a little too hot at the moment.
I would agree strongly.
And specifically Rumble, I can't stand playing Ace of Spade players, mostly because I can't shoot back at them, even beyond the damage bonus and the overshields that they get.
It's a heavy round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lawrence, I feel like there's barely any counterplay to. Even in like shotgun distance, I can't prevent them from hitting a headshot. There's nothing I can do. It feels hopeless. And I do think that the pick rate for Lemon Arc is way higher than we think, because it's not necessarily getting the kill. It's leading to a kill by something else. So I do think the pick rate's a lot higher.
The usage is equivalent to the kill rate, which I do believe that, it's probably contributing to a lot more kills than it should in the chart. But even the usage rate is still, it's climbing, but it's not super high. It's not even in the top 15 right now. I will say, a problem that can be fixed that solves a lot of this shit is nerf precision weapon
aim assist.
Yes, I'm all for that across the board.
Nerf
special
precision
weapons
weapon aim assist. Yeah,
sure.
Sniper rifles, Le Mans Arc, Lorentz Driver, Chaperone. Like there are a lot of problems in this game right now are caused by the fact that Chaperone shoots watermelons, Le Mans Arc shoots watermelons, Lorentz Driver shoots watermelons, even 1,000-yard stare to a certain extent. Like some of these 1,000-yard stare less so, but some of these sniper rifles, they're very forgiving of being next to the head.
That's the best way you could have put
up.
it, because that's where my problem lies with these outliers, is they're just a little too easy to use comparatively.
So, but if they take that down, like, dude, one thing we can never go back to is Destiny 1 Bloom. We can never go back to that. Like, there's nothing worse in any game ever than being directly on someone's face, hitting the shot, and it literally not doing anything.
Really hate Bloom. Yeah.
Well,
that's the worst thing that can happen.
Too, but Bloom only really affects hand cannons right now, right? So, I mean, like snipers don't really have Bloom. Le Mans Arc doesn't have Bloom. Chaperone doesn't have Bloom. Lorentz Driver doesn't have Bloom. So, I mean, the only thing that's really affected by Bloom or has ever been affected by Bloom is hand cannons. And I don't think they have Bloom that's really bad right now. It's like pretty massively toned down. But if that's an issue, sure, then dump the aim assist and dump Bloom too and get rid of it. Bloom's just RNG to me.
I mean, because let's think about a hand cannon shot. You have your little reticle, but there's the invisible circle around that. Like, the dot isn't necessarily on their head, but you're getting some love, right? You're getting some love on that headshot. You're off of the head. And I think what Mark's saying and translating here is like when you nerf that aim assist, it would be closer to that dot, right? You pretty much the dot has to be on them. You're not going to get that freeness coming out of thin air.
Yeah.
Right? With your magnetism.
Yeah. Cammy would agree with a lot of your picks. Yeah, like Cool Guy said, if you see that Lawrence driver charging up in mid range, you're like, well,
Doubt.
I'm fucked. Like, yeah.
Doubt.
Yeah, even though I love Ace of Spades, love that hand cannon, it is king flinch every time I'm getting shot, and it's very difficult for me to return the shot back. I'm like, king flinch, and then I get killed, and it's like, yeah, it's Ace.
I have the same reaction to Ace that I do Lawrence driver. Oh, I see the little flashlight. I hear the sound. Other direction. Can't fight it anymore.
Ba-ching. Yeah, it's very difficult
Titan.
to fight Ace because the flinch is extra hard. And DMT, just because, like, even though they tried to tone it a little bit, DMT is still extra spicy on PC. If I want to just ruin somebody's day, like, I'll just be like, all right, well, time to play M&K DMT. See how
Would
they
you
like
change
it.
cranial spike? What would you do?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that,
I put
unfortunately.
some thought into this. I would almost like to see it become 70 damage, but then once you have cranial 5, it just jumps to 90. So it is just a 70 damage weapon until you get the 5 spikes.
Or maybe let it go to 7 to get the 2
that
tap.
could work too.
Maybe.
Make it
want
work
to
like
stay
Hawkmoon almost.
consistent from the hip. I don't want it so that when my center of hip fire reticle is on head, it has a chance to miss.
All very good answers. If you have any at home that you feel a little too hot, need to be toned down, let us know. Either next time we're recording here, when hopefully we have Drew back on the show, and or on our own individual Twitch, YouTube, Twitter channels, and that stuff like that there.
Which, by the way, it is perfectly okay to talk about the game, right? When I say something about nerfing something or buffing something or anything like that, it's not for intent. Like, I know a lot of people love the Lawrence driver. It's a very good weapon, but there's a reason that we need to talk about, like, hey, dude, it's a little too hot, and this is why. And I'm not trying to, like, take down your play style, or like with bows, like with Monarch. I'm not trying to take it down. It's more of, this is what it's doing. We need to talk about it. I mean, and I do like debating and talking about things, but it's really hard, and you find that like a lot on Twitter and Xbox messages. It's really hard to debate someone that's always right. If that makes sense. Like, I'm always open for things.
No, I got it. Yeah, some people have their minds made up already,
and they'll hear what they want to hear. Like, for this podcast, they're gonna hear, "Oh, I want Lawrence nerf," but what about that part where we were talking about Titans needing some love? What about that one?
Yeah, there you go.
I love talking about the game, man. It's always worth talking about. So.
I feel, we're always open to talking about the game as long as it is a conversation and not a like a one-sided, I don't know, bludgeoning with a Louisville Slugger.
To put us back on that weapon discussion, I feel that pellet shotguns have become so inconsistent for me that I think I'm going full slug, just legendary slug, not even dealing with the RNG anymore.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. I've fully committed to the strategy of, I will, unless the person is this close to my face, like unless I can smell their breath, I'm not going to fire a pellet shotgun. I'll fire it at an enemy who's full health if, like, maybe we come around a corner and we're like about to make out. But any other situation, I'm doing like a hand cannon shotgun blint, where like I'm approaching them. It's like if I just touch you with one shot from my primary, thorn, pally, whatever, and then I just get a little bit closer, then I'm gonna hot swap. It's why I've started to lean more into handling on shotguns than instead of range, because usually if I'm swapping into a shotgun, you're already weak to the point where it's just a super hot swap into a hip fire mid range. You're dead because I've already chipped away at you a little bit. But that's my new strategy, or the only one I'm leaning into, because you're right, Cammy. Like, depending on the range, is like if you just try to go at a full health, like, time to get that pellet spread, like, it's like, it's probably not going to happen for you.
Yeah, that, and I'm also switched back to grenade launchers.
Oh, God.
Harden Our Dust is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a not bad one.
What role are you using?
Right now, auto-loading, and I'm trying to get, like, demo, danger close, something other than Vorpal weapon because of how infrequently supers come up.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And then for the grenade itself, I switch from proxy and blinding depending on the people I'm playing.
Interesting. That seems like a pretty good place to wind it out there.
GG.
What?
Said GG's.
GG, y'all. Thanks for joining us on Firing Range, first one for the new year, 2022. Happy New Year to y'all. We hope it's a good one. We've got Witch Queen coming around the corner in about 1 month from right now, close to 1 month. We didn't get Drew on the show here tonight. He's out and about, but we'll try to get him in here next time. And in the meantime, we'll just go around the table and let you know where you can find each of us when we are not here on the show. Starting with Cammy. Go.
I am Cammy, twitch.tv/CammyCakes, youtube.com/CammyCakesGaming, twitter.com/CammyCakesYT. Seriously, send me that new light getting stuck in Dare's fan art because that would be so funny.
Please do. Cool Guy, where can the people find you?
Twitter and YouTube, Cool Guy Games, and Twitch is going to be I am Cool Guy Games.
Huge. Merc, where can the people find you?
Find me on Twitter, Mercules904, if you want to hear me complain about people complaining about the Monarch. And you can find me on the Destiny Massive Breakdowns podcast, which releases Friday mornings.
It's a great podcast. Seriously, make that a part of your routine.
Yeah, check it out.
It's really good.
And you can find him walking down the aisle in 5 weeks.
Hopefully nobody can find me doing that. I'd be very concerned if anyone here found me.
For sure.
While I was actually at my wedding.
Like he has his suit on. There's that wedding vest, but he doesn't wear the rest of the suit. He just wears the wedding vest.
Yeah, just the vest. And my name is Fallout. You can find me on youtube.com/FalloutPlays or twitch.tv/FalloutPlays, on Twitter @FalloutPlays. And Drew is at, is it youtube.com/Drewski's channel?
Yep, and twitch.tv/Drewskis.
Correct. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. We are Firing Range. Take care of each other, and we will see you next time.
Take care.